Hi there. Now, before I get started, I just want to say thank you to all the people who watched my first video. It's not much, but I still didn't expect the amount of turnout for a video on a game made in 2005, and I really do appreciate that. I also want to say sorry. Life kept me busy for the past few years, so I haven't had the time to make a video like this until just now. And don't worry, I've learned my lesson from last time. I bought a new microphone, and I'll be sure to be twice as offensive as I was last time. But that's enough of that. Let's talk about PvP.
Better scramble like an egg before you get folded like an omelet, nigga.
Player versus player, or PvP in short, is referred to any conflict between players in a video game, particularly when used to referring to multiplayer games and especially role-playing games in MMORPGs. People are competitive by nature, and it's no guess why some of the most popular video games involve players killing each other. I feel like PvP is something that can keep a game popular for years if it's done well enough, but a lot of developers either don't know how to balance PvP in a game or don't care enough to implement it in the first place when it could have been a benefit to the game by appealing to its more competitive audiences. And with MMORPGs, this is even more of a problem. But what if I told you that there was an MMORPG out there that was PvP oriented, player run, and leaves you with the ability to go from zero to hero and operating in a world where people are doing nothing but killing each other?
Forge your destiny in Albion Online.
Albion Online is a medieval fantasy sandbox MMORPG first released in 2017, but went free to play in 2019. It advertises itself as a game with an expansive world where players are able to create their own story. There's monsters to kill, dungeons to explore, materials to harvest for crafting equipment, and its player-driven economy with PvP being the main driving factor for most of the activities in the game. Albion has also been called brutal, impossible to play if you're poor, and pay to win amongst other things with its full loop PvP system. So which one is it really? Does Albion allow us to create our own story, or is the only story we'll be creating about how we stole our parents' credit card to buy Monopoly money on the in-game market? So let's get started. You can get Albion Online from Steam. Easy. But if you create your account on the website and download the client from there exclusively, you do get a small discount on purchases simply because Steam doesn't get their cut in the transaction. Once you're in, you can create your character. It's not much to look at as far as options are concerned, but it's worth noting that you have plenty of options when it concerns your name. Just don't make it too offensive or else the administrators will change it for you. The story of Albion is simple. In the mainland, a ruthless king rules with an iron fist over a nation overcome with despair. But after 1,000 years, the lands of Albion reveal themselves far away in a distant land, and the king commissions adventurers to travel there to build, craft, and conquer. Except on the way there, you forgot about your bald-ass tires on your Nissan Altima, so you run into a little bit of trouble. And you wake up after having crashed out near a lighthouse and you're tossed into the game's tutorial. The tutorial is fairly simple, with the game teaching you on how to perform combat, gather, and craft within about 20 minutes or so. Once you're finished, you're able to choose where you want to start on the royal continent of the game. And when you're fresh off the boat, the game also gives you 3 days of premium for free when you select your town. Afterwards, I did a few more of the starter quests that the game gave me from the tutorial guy, and then I bought myself a few better pieces of gear and kind of just did my own thing. I went out and started killing some monsters so I can get silver for even better pieces of gear, and I realized that you could also go and find treasures that are also hidden throughout the map in different zones, and oh my fucking god! That's right, I forgot that Albion is a PvP based game, of course, so let me just go back to town and wait, where the fuck is my gear? You mean to tell me I got robbed by some bitch-ass motherfucker? This game is fucking garbage. Everything's so expensive because I keep dying. I can't really make any silver because I'm doing worthless bullshit. And every time I go into a place where I do want silver, I either get pieced up by somebody who's dripped out in full fucking Versace, or I get fucking gangbanged by the entire village for the worthless rags on my back. So even if I do get something good, I just get killed with it anyway. So I'm forced to fucking travel naked on a fucking mule right outside. Who the fuck knocked it? Wait, oh, mama, wait, no, mama. Has this ever happened to you? Broke and begging for silver in the marketplace because you don't have any way to make more? And you're not able to steal your parents' credit card because your broke ass is still sore from the last time you did? Well, let me introduce you to the WakandaGodd Guide to Albion. I'm going to explain how the game works and what a fresh playthrough looks like starting a character without wasting your time or feeling like you're going to empty your checking account buying all the bullshit off of the marketplace. So, let's first talk about the world map in Albion. There are 4 types of zones in the game: blue, yellow, red, and black. In blue zones, PvP is impossible and you cannot die. In yellow zones, PvP is possible but you cannot be killed by another player. If you take damage by another player and you hit 0, you will only get knocked down for a certain amount of time. In red zones, if you are killed by another player, you will die. If you die, you will drop all your equipment and inventory on the ground to the person that killed you, and they get to loot your corpse. You do not drop your silver, however, and you can respawn at either the last city that you visited or a home that you can set in multiple places throughout the game. And finally, in black zones, PvP is mandatory, and you also die. Anyone inside a black zone will be automatically flagged for PvP, and anybody else who is not in their party, guild, or alliance can and probably will fucking kill you. So why is this important? Because depending on which zone you're in, you will receive a flat bonus to all the fame, loot, and silver that you earn. So the best thing to do to maximize your silver per hour early is to go straight to the black zone. So before we go to O Block, let's just get a few things out of the way. First, the starting quests that you get in the game in the beginning after you receive your free premium are the only quests in the entire game, and they're a complete waste of time, so you should never do them. This is also true for expeditions. Only hardcore expeditions are worthwhile, and if you're trying to queue up for a group expedition, then you're going to be standing around looking like a dipshit for a while because everybody knows that they're worthless. And the solo ones are even more worthless, so you're better off just doing your own thing and trying to start your own adventure. Albion works by giving a tier to all zones, monsters, and equipment in the game, and it all starts with your destiny board. There are 2 main trees: your Reaver tree that determines how much damage and defense that you have against monsters, and your Adventurer tree that determines all of the different mounts and miscellaneous equipment that you can use. There are also 3 main combat trees: Hunter, Warrior, and Mage to your left, and all of the trees related to gathering, refining, and crafting are to your right. As you use certain equipment and perform certain actions, you will earn fame towards that specific tree, eventually unlocking new and stronger equipment and more skills for that given weapon. Every subtree for equipment also has anywhere from 7 to 8 individual weapons and armor pieces to use starting at tier 4. And the first 2 abilities on every piece of equipment within that class is always the same. And the third ability is the one that makes that specific piece of equipment unique. What this means is that the game starts at tier 4, and wearing anything less than that is unacceptable unless you're trying to unlock it for tier 4. So that's our first goal. If you want, you can take the 3-day premium that the game gives you in the beginning, but I'm going to leave it alone for now so I can make more use of it later once I have a little bit of fame under my belt. The easiest way to get the tier 4 quickly is to do any of the beginning activities that are within the Albion Journal, which is an achievement system that rewards you for completing tasks. Then find an appropriate weapon and armor that you want to use, put it on at tier 3, and you've unlocked tier 4. The old-fashioned way to do this is to go outside any town or city and kill monsters until you can unlock tier 4. Albion takes pride in the fact that you can mix and match various pieces of equipment to create your own build and accomplish your own specific role in whichever way you prefer. Because of this, and the fact that the game and how weapons work can change every single patch, I'm not going to make any recommendations on what the best fucking hoity-toity fucking immortal wig-snatching, spit-swapping build is, but I will recommend 2 things if you're just starting out. If you plan on doing Priest and being a solo healer until you can find some friends, you will do no damage, because you're a Priest. But you can save all of the fame tones that you earn and make quicker progress than if you were trying to bless things to death. And if you ever want to practice healing other people, you can always head into the arena or try a try an expedition. You might have better queue times if you're a healer. And the other recommendation that I have to make is to never wear plate armor if you are by yourself. The reason for this is because plate armor doesn't provide any sort of additional bonus to your damage, but it will make you tankier. It doesn't help you in the long run when you're killing monsters or other people, which is mostly what you're going to be doing for the start of the game to earn yourself pocket change. Soldier armor is a slight exception to this rule if you really want to level up armor, but pay attention to what weapon you're using so that you're not doing anything too stupid. So, we have T4 equipment. Now we can get Tier 5 Reaver because the lowest black zone is Tier 5. And once we have Tier 5 Reaver, we can head into the black zone by entering using any portal that's up in any royal city. This will lock you to that portal, meaning that you can't use one in another city unless you reset your binding, which you can only do every 7 days, or find a way to run from one side of the black zone to the other. Each city also has their own portal town, which is a safe area where you can still use a lot of the same NPCs there in a normal city. And then we can go outside and, oh my fucking god. Please, bro, I got a wife and children. I'm just a little boy. No, you bitch ass motherfuckers. I fucking hate all y'all. I hate all y'all. Alright, so maybe we got a little ahead of ourselves. That's my fault. Let me give a few tips on how to stay alive in a PvP zone. So, in yellow and red zones, the minimap will indicate exactly how many enemies are hostile with you inside. But in the black zone continent, currently it only gives an approximate range of how many people are inside with you, and in other zones it may not give any indication at all. But whenever it is available, you do want to pay attention to that number and try to avoid almost every single fight that you see. This is because other players, more often than not, will have more fame, which means that they will do more damage, have more defense, have more friends. You get the fucking point. And this puts you at a severe disadvantage when taking engagements head-on the honorable way. And other people might not even give you an honorable death in the first place if they decide to gank your ass and curb stomp you in your pissant gear set. So let me paint a picture very quickly. You know, you're a little bit thirsty and you want to make some breakfast, so you want to go out and buy some milk. So you go out, you go down the street, you start walking to go buy some milk, and all of a sudden, fucking Tony Mozzarella comes up and ends your shit, nigga. Yeah, he doesn't even rob you. Yeah, that's what being ganked feels like. Gankers are people who try to make their money simply by making you dead. They are typically not alone, and they will usually outgear you. So if you see one, assume there are more and run for your fucking life. Gankers can usually be identified by their fast mounts and expensive equipment. But that's not all. Let me paint another picture for you. Say you've been knocked down by a monster, you're spazzing out, and you just need a little bit of time to get yourself together. But you get noticed by Antonio Montesanti and his buddy Finocchio Di Natale, and then they end your shit, nigga. Then they take your wallet and run. Yeah, those are rats. And rats are people who never want to fight you directly. All they want to do is waste your abilities, your time, or your patience enough to where they can convince you to fight them when they have an advantage, and then they will kill you for it. Rats can usually be identified by wearing inexpensive equipment, but of a very particular type. And to be honest with you, you're just gonna have to die to one or have one get away from you before you understand exactly how fucking annoying it is to deal with one, and you just don't deal with it again the next time. Now you might be asking yourself, Wakanda, how the fuck do I tell all these people apart? I might just need to make a piss nuke like I saw on Instagram that one time.
Here's nuke incoming! Everybody get down! Sir! Oh!
But instead, let me tell you that this lesson in particular is sponsored by the letter Y. It is a fucking letter on your keyboard, and you need to press it every single time that you see somebody who is hostile, because it's going to tell you exactly who they are, what they're wearing, and what their intentions are. Someone who's wearing gathering equipment may not want to kill you or have any threat to you whatsoever, but someone else who's wearing literal fucking death givers just might— oh sweet jeez! And even if you don't survive, you can also mitigate your losses by wearing inexpensive equipment. Tier 4 equipment is perfectly fine in a Tier 5 zone if you have a competent set, and the gear is inexpensive enough to craft or buy yourself hundreds of times over if you need to, once you have a little bit of silver in your pocket. And finally, if you do find yourself backed into a corner, begging for your life isn't the worst idea, since others can also see your gear, and they can also tell if you're new or not based off of your overall stats. So think of it like rolling the dice for a charisma check. Sometimes you might say the right thing that keeps you alive, or other times you might say the stupidest fucking thing you possibly could and experience virtual gang initiation firsthand. But you'd be surprised how tame some people are in Albion. Players weigh their options and will sometimes leave it alone completely if you make an effort to talk it out rather than fight it out. But if you understand all of this, you're ready to go out into the black zone and get some silver. If you really want to maximize your fame in silver per hour, I recommend killing any of the monsters that are in the open world zones. They can reside in encampments which have an extra chest at the end of them, or they can also upgrade over time if left untouched, and you can find monsters that can give you as much fame in silver as completing 1 or 2 solo dungeons in a single kill. If you do want to roll the dice and try to earn silver, you can do solo dungeons, but the fame is not great because they are the safest content in the game. Once you enter a solo dungeon, the entrance closes after 90 seconds, and you can also buy dungeon maps at a marketplace or find them as loot throughout the world. So in theory, you can have a safe and steady supply of silver, but the game understands this, so you probably won't make a lot of silver unless you do get lucky. If you've been doing this for a bit and you just keep killing shit, your Reaver will get to T6 and you might find a Will-O-Wisp to take you into the Mists, which are instanced black zones, which only allow 1 or 2 people to enter at a time. These Mists can offer greater rewards than what you might find in the open world with additional objectives for you to complete. Not to mention, you rule out the option of ever getting run down by a group of people. But over time, and for every time that you stay alive when you're out in the black zone, you will put silver in your pocket. You will make a lot of silver, hundreds of thousands, even if you're unlucky for every chest that you hit. And the more you explore and the more you loot, eventually you might just get lucky enough that can make every— Holy shit, we're rich! Hell yeah, motherfucker, we made it, ma. Grab the bag. Wait, hold up. Stop the music. Stop the fucking music. Wait. Shit. Okay, grab it. Okay, I'm overweight. Okay. Oh no. Hey, buddy, you want to make some adventure?
I'm gonna kill you, nigga!
We are fucking out of Okay, wait, hold up. We gotta stay calm, okay. Things may look bad, but we lived through this. Because I'm running straight towards the exit. My flame blast is up in a few seconds. I have an vulnerability with my chest piece, and my run's up in 15, so we win. Now we use our flame blast for the movement speed. Fear him catching up behind me. Got a fucking carving sword? Okay, here's the shield. Oh, nigga! Bitch ass motherfucker. Of course, let it be the one time I get the bag that I get the motherfucker that can two-tap me. To remind everyone that even if you have a plan, sometimes things just won't work out in your favor. But even when you reflect on your deaths, you can always look at the bright side. Even if I spent all the silver if I had, I still wouldn't have killed that bitch ass nigga. And even when you die, you still keep your character-bound items, including your silver bags and tomes that you find while you're running out. So you can still learn from the loss and profit. Do this enough times, and even without premium, you'll make decent progress and silver from playing dangerously, and you can set yourself up to play the game in any way you want. But after I went and I had a couple million fame and a few sets of gear under my belt, I ended up getting my 3-day premium that was sitting for me in the starter town. So now I can go back out with more than a mule and a low-quality sword for a weapon and make the most out of the time that I get for free. So let's talk about making our silver the hard way, in PvP. Okay, so you're not some fucking spring chicken anymore and you want to hurt people and take their stuff, so let's think about this for a second. If you just run out into a PvP zone with the exaggerated swagger of a black team, then it's probably not going to end well for you at all. Not to mention, taking fights out into the open world are rarely honorable or fair, and more often than not, you're going to get killed by a mob, killed by somebody who outclasses you, or killed by something that you don't quite understand. So, practice is the easiest way to fix this. And the fastest way to get good practice is to head into the arena, where you can experience a 5v5 PvP environment and at the very least start to learn exactly what every single weapon and armor does from the people that you play with and what you want to play as well. Afterwards, you can go into corrupted dungeons where you have to kill a certain amount of monsters before a boss spawns so that you can get loot from the end, but you have the risk of being invaded by an enemy player. You can also hit a shrine in the beginning that turns you into an enemy that can invade others, but at the same time, whether you're in the yellow zone or in the red zone, these will give you loot and infamy, which will give you progressively more loot the more that you have. Myths are also a very good option to try out PvP, since it locks for more than 1 to 2 people entering at any given time. After that, if you want to hurt people quickly but not want to go into the black zone to get mobbed for it, then you can PvP flag by hitting the shield in the top in the left-hand corner next to your name. You're also able to faction flag, which is flagging for any particular city in the royal continent, making you an enemy to any other city or other flag, except for Carrion. Faction flagging for Carrion will make you an enemy to all other factions and your own. And with Carrion, this also applies to people who may be in the same guild or alliance as you. So if you faction flag as Carrion, anyone outside of your 20-man party can and will be Wait, this reminds me of something.
Knock his ass out. I don't even know this nigga.
Well, I don't know what it is, but this faction speaks to me, so I'm just gonna roll it from now on out. But while you're faction flag, you can participate in a consistent war effort to try to capture zones from other cities by capturing the outposts that are scattered throughout the royal continent. Not to mention, periodically every few hours, there's an event called Bandit Assault, where the neighborhood goes black and every zone within the red zone on the royal continent turns to Carrion, and all of the other cities rush in to try to capture as many zones back. You can tag along with a party as a part of a major city to see if you can capture all the zones back from Carrion. And the city that captures the most zones overall gets a bonus towards all of the activity that they earn during the event. These events can be pretty fun, but there's a lot going on in the background, so don't be surprised if you— oh, sweet baby, Mother Mary Jesus. Oh, fucking hell, I am I'm alive. Holy shit, yes, I'm alive. Fucking pick me up, Scatter. Pick me up. And of course, as Carrion, although you may not be able to capture outposts due to all the activity in the zone, you can definitely pick fights with any larger groups and the rest of the world if you really want to. With this, we now have a decent list of activities that we can do to earn ourselves silver and fame, which is excellent because up until this point we haven't talked about one of the most important features in this game, guilds. Now, if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that in Albion there is an obvious strength in numbers. If you can find a party, or even more if you can find a guild. Albion allows you to create a guild of up to 300 members, and it also has guild seasons, where all the activity that you perform while you're in a guild contributes to that season's progression. And if you're performing activities in the black zone, you will also receive a flat bonus to all of the might, which acts like a pointage system to track your season progression, and favor, which is a currency that you can use to get massive amounts of fame, silver, or to craft particular equipment. To join a guild, you can ask for an invite from chat to get into one quickly, and it'll also give you an easy link to their Discord if there is one. You can look at the information for the guild, including how many active players there are, and their current ranking on the server that you're in. Guilds will also have a tax for all of the silver that you pick up off the ground, and this should be the first thing that you check, since there are guilds out there with oppressive tax rates to try to take money from newer players who aren't willing to check. But other than that, if you see anything else that doesn't please you and you don't want to stick around, you can always leave the guild in the same menu as well. I am a full supporter of playing the way that you prefer, especially in a sandbox game, and you shouldn't have your fun taken away by the cross that somebody else wants you to carry. If you prefer to do all your research up front, you can also use the Guild Finder menu to look for potential guilds that you can apply for or join immediately depending on their settings. You can filter based off a number of different qualities such as their activities and how many active players they have as well. The guild I joined also had a hideout near the city that they were located in, a base that acts as a meeting point that can be placed in a black zone as well as in certain Avalonian roads. Hideouts act as a place for guild members to gather and provide immediate access into the black zone for you to do activities, given you are able to place one down in the middle of a PvP zone. The guild I joined was pretty chill, and we did some activities together in the black zone that allowed me to make hand over fist and silver, as well as get a good amount of advice from the members that had more experience than me. That is until we got into a fight while we were running outside our hideout, got completely overrun and wiped to a party that outnumbered and outgunned us. Afterwards, I was suspected for being a spy and kicked from the guild maybe 5 minutes after we died. Now, this is a good moment to remind everyone that you're playing with others, and in fact you are playing with human beings and people. People with power are a scary thing, and some people might use that power against you to put you in a poor position. But in this particular example, I don't blame them for two reasons. First, if you ever do run a guild like a democracy, then you're guaranteed to run into problems sooner rather than later. And secondly, because they were absolutely right. I was being a fucking spy. So let's talk about running a guild. If you ever have problems with the people that you play with, you should get people to play with you. And with it, you can also find partners and friends that can help you in the game to build a network of jolly cooperation. So how do we do that? Well, first you need to have 1,000,000 silver and a name that won't trigger people or make you a target, and you're good. Guilds can also create or join an alliance that can band guilds together with similar interests and like-minded goals to gain supremacy over the world of Albion. And this can ultimately turn into thousands of players on the same team contributing to a war effort. So where do we start? Well, first we have to start with you. You need to be strong. Strong enough to carry the team on your back and be sure that everyone makes it out alive. And even if you don't make it out alive, you can always learn from the loss and come back twice as hard. And to do that, let's talk about your character. You need to be able to win your fights and act as a one-man army if necessary, so it's important to understand how item power works. Your average item power is primarily based off of your equipment and your mastery in that specific item tree. The more fame you have, the better equipment you can wear in that tree and the stronger you are with it. But beyond that, there's also your specialization, which further increases your item power for that specific item and every other item in that same tree. Meaning, to get the maximum effectiveness out of your equipment, you would need to get every single item and its specialization to 100, starting with the pieces that you use the most. As you get certain trees to 100 in the desting board, you will also start to earn fame credits that you can use to raise your mastery in other items that you don't use as often. And you can push the envelope even further by earning elite levels by spending increasing amounts of fame credits and silver. Accomplishing this makes a considerable difference to how strong your character is. You are effectively 3 tiers higher than somebody who has no specialization compared to you if you take the time to be maxed out. As a leader, you also can't be broke, so this is a good time to explain equivalency as far as gear is concerned. Almost every piece of equipment in the game can have up to 4 enchantment levels. This is usually also abbreviated whenever it's referred to in chat, so for example, this is a 4.3 Claymore. Now, the base tier of an item plus its enchantment level will give you the effective tier of the item you are wearing. That means that a T6 dual swords and a 4.2 dual swords will have the same item power given that they have the same quality. You will get a little bit more item power from the tier 6 simply because of a mastery bonus if it does apply. But this is very important because a 4.2 dual sword can be cheaper than a tier 6, and this can be for just about every other item in the game as well. This is not always true, but as you go through the game and unlock new items, you might think to yourself, oh wow, I want a T7 Bridal Fury, that looks pretty good. And then you'll realize how expensive it is and say, well, maybe a 4.3 is just as good. Now let's see if we can find some people to join us. There are plenty of ways to find guild members to join you, whether it be Reddit, forums, Discord, or inviting every random passerby that wanders onto your screen. But in my honest opinion, I believe that the best way to find people to play with is to look into server chat in your language and try to answer as many questions for people as possible. Once you solve their immediate problem, offer to help them in the future to play with them at that moment, and typically people won't refuse. Now, when it comes to keeping yourself alive, you will need to know how fighting in a group works. Traditionally speaking, if you have a group of at least 4 people, then you'll want to have a tank, a healer, a ranged DPS, and a melee DPS. But you can always make adjustments to this, or just wear whatever the fuck you want, depending on what everybody wants to play as. And when you're killing monsters in a group in Albion, the traditional MMORPG rules still apply. Your tank will want to take most of the aggro, your healer wants to keep your tank alive, and your DPS wants to try to kill everything that you come across. Afterwards, it will just take practice and coordination and communication for your team to be successful. You're going to want to pay very close attention as to what you're performing or what you're running into, otherwise you might turn your entire team into a fucking anime credit scene. And finally, you'll also want to pay attention to a system called damage escalation that is running in the background. In short, For every human player that you hit past the first one, the skill that hits them will gain 8% damage all the way up to a cap. That means that a lot of groups that are geared to kill other people are going to try to clump you together and kill you all at once, because that's how they're going to do the most damage. The only two ways that I know of to really counteract this is to have a defensive tank or some sort of support that is able to peel for your team and to stop engages from the enemy, or to watch for any tanks approaching and to spread out as far as possible so that you guys don't end up in no man. Oh, there it is. Yep. Fuck it. Roll it. Roll the credits. Oh my god. Oh, my friends, no! And that's about it. Now, at this point of the video, if you played Albion at all before, you might be asking yourself, what the fuck, man? What about the gathering, the crafting, the islands, the farming, and the cooking, and the... Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. I'm going to mention it. The issue that I have with all of these things and all of the life and crafting of the game is that you get a severe disadvantage if you don't have premium. And the bad news is that it is impossible for you to own your own personal island unless you at least buy a 7-day premium. And the good news is that you can buy premium with silver. However, the lowest denomination that you can purchase with silver is 30 days. Now, whichever way you want to achieve it, I do believe that premium is worth it 100% of the time if you are willing to afford it. But the price for it in silver sits at around 30 mil. For a new player, that might seem like an impossible task, but I can tell you that it's not impossible if you just save your silver more than you spend it. For anyone who works for a living or works on 9 to 5, it might take a month or more for you to do that, given that the game can keep your attention for long enough. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let me start with crafting. To make gear, you'll need to refine any kind of material at an appropriate crafter first, and if you want to create something of a higher tier, you'll need to use the refined version of a previous tier as a reagent to create the next tier, and this implies an increasing values all the way up to tier 8. Afterwards, you can use those refined materials to create all sorts of base equipment. Other certain ingredients can be used to make mounts, potions, and food, but if you don't have premium to grow it from the ground up, then you will need to buy it from the marketplace, which is something that you can also do for all the materials that you may need as well. Now, some pieces of equipment may also require an artifact or a special type of ingredient to make that certain piece. You can always go to an artifact foundry and use any sort of runes, souls, relics, or Avalonian shards to try to randomly obtain the artifact that you need to craft a piece of equipment. You can buy it from the marketplace, or you can find it as loot throughout the world. However, there are two exceptions to this rule. Shapeshifter weapons, as well as certain advanced potions in this game, can only be obtained by finding ingredients and artifacts that are dropped from tracking monsters, which are special types of monsters that you find by using a tracking kit in any sort of red or black zone, killing the monster and hoping that you get the ingredient that you need. The other exception is crystal weapons, or essentially the apex weapon of any given subtree. Now, these can only be obtained from end-of-season rewards, and you're going to need premium to obtain it as well. It can still be purchased from the marketplace, but at the same time, you're going to have to pay a price commensurate to how strong that weapon is. Now, for gathering, you will only need to get the gathering tool that's required for the material that you want, place it in your inventory, and it will allow you to gather everything of that same tier, everything below that tier, and one tier above it. So for example, if you have a tier 4 skinning knife, you'll be able to gather tier 4 and below, tier 4.1 through 4.4, and tier 5, base tier 5. If you are able to find an enhanced material, you can also refine it into an enhanced version, and then craft enhanced pieces of equipment without the need to use any runes, souls, or relics to upgrade it yourself. And just to note, pristine equipment or 0.4 equipment cannot be enchanted into. You need to craft directly into it. And if it's a pristine weapon specifically, you are also able to awaken it, giving it additional stat bonuses and qualities and making your weapon a legendary extension of yourself. And while you need premium to make an island for yourself, you do not need premium to make a guild island. You cannot put any sort of farming or growing plots on a guild island, however. So you won't be making any potions, foods, or mounts from scratch on it, but you can still make all of the equipment for yourself and your friends if you need to. And if you do build a house or even a guild hall, you can also hire laborers where you can obtain journals from them that can be filled by performing specific activities and then returned back to them so that they can go and fetch you either additional items or trophies to increase their happiness and productivity overall. To make your operation as profitable as possible, you can also take advantage of the regional crafting bonuses in any sort of royal city, black zone, or place where you can craft. Or you can use focus to drastically reduce the amount of materials that you use. But if you don't have premium, then you don't restore focus passively, and you can only recover it from focus potions that you obtain through certain rewards and chests. Okay, now that's about it. I've mentioned gathering and all the life skills that come with it. And admittedly, I'm still missing plenty of other things, including the Avalonian roads, which act like an interconnected highway of zones that have their own objectives inside. The something Avalonian Force Energy or Safe Portal. Brazilian, the city that's hidden within the mists, as well as the Smugglers faction that released a few weeks ago that allows even more activities to do within the Black Zone. And speaking of things you can do, you can also just buy fucking silver. Like, I didn't mention it, but there's a gold market as well where you can just convert the in-game currency into paid currency if you want to be a whale. And if you want to be a whale, go for it, motherfucker. I really don't care. Personally, I played this game to take money from whales, so I don't care if I'm fighting somebody who's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. If they don't know how the game works and they play it wrong, I can still take money out of their pocket. And if you think that's toxic, then that's completely fair. Now, I have been paying for premium for most of the time I've been playing this game because I work a real job and I can do simple math in my own head. But I think Albion has improved itself tremendously over the years by trying to increase the amount of activities that players can perform to earn their own premium. And I don't think that the creators are perfect either. I have some reservations about the fact that they're just now fucking selling learning points to players so that they can make themselves Jesus straight off the bat. And since Albion is such a dynamic game, there's always the possibility that they make an update to add something in and it absolutely takes away from the experience and ruins the game. This game will not be the same, and I probably won't even feel the same about it 1 year from now, but it doesn't take away from the fact that right now I feel like this version and this current iteration of the game is one of the best that it's seen in its life cycle so far. In summary, Albion does two things for me very well. It gives players the feeling that they really are a part of a player-driven environment that's as deep as the game allows, that isn't really seen often at this kind of scale. And it handles PvP in probably some of the best ways that I've seen in an MMO so far. Now, I know that may be a bold claim given that there's a lot of strong competitors, but in review, all of the characteristics that Albion operates under allow it to perform well enough compared to some of the other games that meet those same criteria. And it helps tremendously that the game is constantly changing every couple of months with the creators releasing new content to keep things interesting and to address old concerns. And just in case an Albion developer does watch this video, Party Finder is useless in the game as it is now, so either create content that's based around the function, like a raid, or just remove it. And you know what? Fuck it. Expeditions suck. Expeditions are like little dungeons that you can do with a party of 5 people. You need 5 people to do them, and if you get a hardcore expedition token, you can wear gear that's up to the challenge and then earn some of the best, safest, and easiest fame and silver in the game. It's just fucking dull. I'm sorry. I can't do it. And to me and everyone else who doesn't touch expeditions, there's a missed opportunity to make the world of Albion more substantial. And the second thing that I think is done well here is that, well, let me start by saying that the pay to win in this game is fine. If you want to be a whale, I can't stop you, and people are probably screaming at the screen from hearing me say that, but if you like a game, support it, and Albion is free for you to play primarily. And secondly, Albion is also on mobile. It's cross-platform, and any account that you create on PC, you can also put right on your phone. And the only ad that you see on mobile is the game trying to get you to buy premium. This makes Albion Online 100% the best mobile MMORPG, no fucking questions asked. And if anybody really believes that there's a competitor that beats this game, please put it in the comments below, and I'll either try it out myself or ask you about your local water supply. Pay to win funds the mobile aspect of this game. So let them have it. Fuck it, let them have it. Because the last thing I want is for the one decent game on the App Store to lose their revenue so much. So now every time I open up the marketplace on mobile, it's gonna be fucking...
Albion Online es un MMOR.
So at the end of it all, we've died hundreds of times, and I want to circle back and ask, does Albion Online let players become 0 to hero without needing to slog through story quests and reaching max level? Yes, I think it actually does accomplish that to a degree. But it's not a fair experience. Absolutely not. I can say it is a fun experience, though. I think Albion does well and has done well to provide players with a unique experience that's based purely off of gamers interacting with each other. So while getting ganked might be a part of the process, there are more than enough stories to be told, loot to plunder, and friends to make as well. So whether you're alone, in a party with your friends, or in an army, I think Albion Online is an MMORPG that has the most answers to the question that every player has in any kind of sandbox game. What the hell do I do next? Thanks for watching. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe, and maybe I'll do another video in about a year or so after I go through another... No, I'm just joking. I'll try to put out another video as soon as I can. This game was just a lot to deal with. Also, sorry to my fellow googly booglies, man. I didn't mean to spy on you guys. I mean, I did, but... Look, man, I just didn't call for the squad to come and kill us. They were fucking Brazilian. They spoke Porsche. I don't even speak the same language as them. Not for real. Thanks for watching. Follow WakandaGodd on Twitch. Don't even watch me. Just follow me.